This is the voice of Killer Cross, and right about now, we're about to take it to the max.
This is the pretty badass Kelly Klein telling you to turn it to 11 and take it to the max.
Hey everybody, it's the interview queen Alicia Atout here, and you are currently listening to the Max Wrestling Podcast. It's time to take it to the max.
What's up, everybody? This is AJ Kirsch, one half of the MLW commentary team, and you're listening to the Max Wrestling Podcast. It's time to take it to the max.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Madhouse.
Hey, this is the charismatic enigma, Jeff Hardy. Welcome to the Madhouse.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Max Wrestling in the Hot Seat. I am your host, Mike Larkin, and joining me for this edition of Max Wrestling in the Hot Seat is my fellow judge, fellow competitor in the promo climaxes, fellow competitor in the King of the Mic, my buddy, Mr. Daniel Crimmins. Daniel, hello. How you doing tonight?
Mr. Larkin, I'm doing quite well. How are you?
Dude, I am hanging in, man, trying to make the best of it. Dan, we are in quarantine. And, dude, I'm happy to be talking to you. Got to stay positively proactive. It's a tough time for everybody, but, you know, we're doing our best for what we do with the Promo League, Max Wrestling, RWT. So we're trying to entertain the people through these tough times.
You know what? And honestly, so far, I mean, we're about, a month or so into the promo climax? Is that right about?
Yeah, we're about a month or so into the Promo League, a month or two.
Honestly, I think it's been amazing so far. You know, it's there have been a couple contests. You know, there's Promo Mania. There have been a couple different ones over the years. I think this has been the best one so far.
What's great about this one is you look at the Promo League, like with Promo Climax, like we had a bit of our drama last year. It was kind of a cluster. The first Promo Climax was not bad, and we'll discuss some of your bouts, and we'll discuss my bouts and the whole nine in general. But it's one of those things, man, where you got 12 hungry people in here. We got Chef at Trivia Takeover. We got Robert Davis and Travis the Walker Anderson. We've seen some great bouts in the Promo League with Travis and Amir. We've seen the Phoenix, former Max Wrestling captain and co-founder, kind of coming to his own in the from the video standpoint, the demon of the Welsh Valleys, and we have the Demoness as the promo champion. So everybody is stepping their game up, Mr. Crimmins.
Exactly. And then, you know, the kind of breaking news today, you know, founder of Evolutional Pro Wrestling, you know, Lewis, you know, he's, I remember the promos he's cut in the past. Maybe he's coming out of retirement. You know, for me, that's something that I would love to see.
For me, it's one of those things where Lewis of Evolution of Pro Wrestling, he came in hot last year with the RWT Silver War. Moni Lynn was a part of that. We got to see the Queen's Court. We got to see RWT. We got to see Evolution of Pro Wrestling represented. Now, in a way, it's kind of funny timing because last year, that's actually the last time we saw Lewis cut a promo was his bout with Amir at last year's Promo Slam. And now we're coming towards Promo Slam. And here comes Lewis. You know, he's interested in what we got going on. So if Lewis comes in, he's one that we've seen, you know, the history. Seen him go against Travis. We've seen him go against Moses, not as El Jefe, but as the Crippler. But Lewis has been in there with a lot of great people that we saw in the Promo Climax too. So Lewis is one to definitely look out for with what we see possibly happening with him coming into the Promo League.
Exactly. You know, his promos are amazing, honestly. You know, I think it's when you look at Promo Slam and last year. Mm-hmm. You know, the names are different now. You know, we got a lot of big name players now. You know, so it's exciting to look at the possibility. You know, you got, you know, if he ultimately decides to, you know, dust off the mic and get back into the promo game. You know, there's him and the Demoness. Mm-hmm. You know, there's him and there's so many people out there that it kind of makes me really want to see him dust the mic off and come back into it.
Oh, agreed. I mean, the only person that we have not seen Lewis go against, well, he hasn't faced a lot of people. Like, we've seen him go against Amir, we've seen him go against Moses, we've seen him go against Travis the Walker Anderson, but there's a lot of fresh matchups there, Dan, from Brittany Savage, from Cypher, Mike Jolly, Teddy P, the Phoenix, Robert Davis, Trippy Wolf, and Chef. Like, he's only faced like 3 people in this promo league.
Exactly. And it's what I like about the promo league this year is each person brings something a little special. Myself, I like to cook, and with any great recipe, you need something special. You need that key ingredient. And each person in the league brings that something.
Agreed. And one of those things is, like, you see a lot of people up in the game, like we mentioned, but what we look at in promos is there's a lot of, and you've seen the pros and cons. You can talk about straight to the point. There's a lot of people that have that attitude. There's a lot of people that have that creativity here. Let's be honest here. There's a lot of creative minds in here. And once they get those creative juices flowing, and also it's very subjective. Some people like this, some people won't. It's very chocolate vanilla, as the old Jim Cornette used to say about Vince McMahon. But what you see in here, we have a lot of artistic expression. We have a lot of creativity. And everybody in this promo league right now, man, we're going to see a lot of great stories being told.
Exactly. And I think it's, we've only just begun.
Mm-hmm. Now, I got to ask you about the promo league so far. Now, I'm going to say this right now. Moses Marquez, it has been officially announced. Not only is he defending the Knowledge Championship against Phoenix, Kenny Kella, Ella J of a Wrestling Gal podcast, and Travis the Walker Anderson, and we'll talk about his bout going to Trivia Takeover here in a second. But, man, Moses Marquez has found himself in that number 1 slot. He has taken on the Demoness for the promo championship in just 2 weeks' time at Trivia Takeover for Max Wrestling / RWT Presents. I got to ask you, man, the Demoness, Nicola McDonald, who has rose from the promo climax to winning the promo championship at the last promo meeting against Travis the Walker Anderson. Before we even get to the bout, talk about the Demoness's rise. What are your thoughts on what we have going on now with the Demoness?
You and I have talked in the past, with Demoness, it's one of those things. When she first started, I wasn't quite sure. It's like, well, this is different, kind of a different vibe.
Mm-hmm.
But then I sat back, I rewatched her promos, and she's got something, with when you look back at her battle with Travis, where she, won the championship,
mm-hmm.
They both brought it, She really brought that dark heat, that intangible. You don't know quite what it is, but it was that something special.
The way I look at it is, like, Dan, like, when she first did the promo, now mind you, she was new at the time, and so was he. When she was going against Zach Herring, I don't need to tell y'all how pretty I am. When she was going against Zach Herring, like, she's just sitting there, she's got the paint on, she's in the dress. You could tell she was nervous, but man, she picked up the win there. And then once we got to Robert Davis, once she got to me, once she got to Teddy P, once she got through everybody in that promo climax, dude, every bout that she had was just crazy. And dude, I know you left early in the promo climax too, but man, she cut one on you that was sweet too. Like, dude, she was taking ass, kicking names. You know what I'm saying? Kicking ass, taking names, the whole 9. It's one of those things where, like, you're kind of like question it, but then she just gains that confidence over time, and she almost could have won that promo climax. So I mean, dude, and then we saw the second bout with Robert Davis at Podcast Promo Rumble 5. It's one of those things where you see something special, and then you just watch it grow and grow and grow and blossom and blossom, blossom, and that has led her to the promo championship. Now, Dan, this is history right here, because for Max Wrestling, we've never had a female promo champion, so she's breaking it down for everybody, man.
Yes, she's. I can't remember who said it, but it was essentially, nobody's gonna remember, the second or the 23rd or something, but everybody's always gonna remember the first one.
Oh yeah, it's one of those things where, like, it's with sequels, man. When the first time you see it, that's it. You know what I'm saying? The second one, the third one, But once you see something as special as the Demoness, and I've said this, it's one of those things where, like you mentioned, Travis brought it. Like, I told Travis this, it could have gone either way. It really could have, just because Travis's was so good. He had the paint on. Nikla had the torture chamber. What I like about it is everybody's bringing out something different, something new. They expand their creativity. They expand what they do as promos. And man, they stole the show. They were one of the ones that stole the show. I did my thing with the shape. Nico and Travis did their damn thing. So it's one of those things where each and everybody that you saw at Promo Mania put their best foot forward to go into that. And that was one hell of a promo title bout.
It was. And, you and I talked about that one, and it really could have gone either way. Like, I think that was one of the ones that, that I had judged, and I had to rewatch both promos a couple of times and, really think, and I had to I rewrote pros and cons multiple times, and that one was probably the toughest one.
It's one of those things where, like, I'll be honest, when I was promo champion, I was having a lot of fun. Like, as you could see, most of my promos are entertaining, and then I get serious, and then I mix it up. You know what I'm saying? I go buck wild with it, Dan, as you can tell. But man, I remember talking to you when we were doing the Travis one. It's like the same situation, man, because you looked at what Travis and I did late December last year, and you were like, Mike, I got to tell you, man, it was tough to pick one. It could have gone either way. So that's kind of like how I feel, because when you got people that have great chemistry, like Travis and myself, and what Nikla does with any opponent that she goes with, when you have someone that you have the right chemistry with, the right dance partner, it's a tough one, because you're going to be in for a hell of a show, and you're out there to entertain the people and give them something to remember.
Exactly. And, you look at some of the gimmicks in wrestling that have withstood the test of time. Look at guys like Mick Foley, like Triple H, like The Undertaker, like Stone Cold, and Jericho, people like that. These are people that believe, that are so invested in their gimmick that they, they're able to make you believe.
Agreed. It's one of those things, like, look at Jericho, like how he's so involved from the Ayatollah of rock and roll, from when he came into WWE in 1999. Obviously, great runs in WCW and ECW, but you look from where he was there and the many returns that he's had. Now he's in AEW, a little bit of the bubbly, Le Champion. Like, he constantly reinvented himself. Look at prime example, The Undertaker, which we've seen in the Last Ride documentary series, the evolution of The Undertaker, pulling back the curtain to show what he's gone through. So it's people like that, not just legendary status, but it's people like that you get a great insight of the business and just the overall hardships and the overall triumphs and tribulations of said wrestling industry.
Oh, exactly. It's I think, honestly, Demoness has been one of my favorites, and it's, Moses, with El Jefe. Mm-hmm. I'm really excited to see where this goes.
I am too. Like, if you look at it, Dan, I mean, this is Moses' second promo championship. He took on Travis back at Podcast Promo Rumble 5. I got to say, when I saw the El Jefe thing, I was impressed. I was intrigued. It was something different from Moses Marquez, because he was doing the crippler thing, and I personally liked it because it's invested of Moses being a wrestler and just the overall nine. It kind of reminded me of Taz, with the towel on his head. But it's one of those things where, like, he upped his game from the crippler to El Jefe. And I'm going to ask you, Dan, as someone who's a spectator watching, not just being in the promo climax, man, what were your thoughts about the crippler and now Moses as El Jefe? Which did you like better? What'd you think of Moses trying to really, like, step it up from where he was a king of the mic, being known as a percentage that is 9%, and then here we are in the promo climax too. He's got a towel on his head. He's the crippler. Now he's in El Jefe. He's talking in subtitles the whole night. He's talking in Spanish. What are your thoughts about the evolution of Moses Marquez character from king of the mic to the crippler to now as El Jefe?
I really enjoyed it. The crippler, it was fun, it was entertaining, and it's, I'm going to compare it to Triple H. When you look at Triple H from when he went to, the fun, goofy loving, the goofy DX character, and then he became the game, the cerebral assassin. He stepped it up, and honestly, I enjoy El Jefe just a little bit more. It's something different. It's when you look at the evolution of him. Again, no pun intended for the Triple H reference. But when you look at the evolution of Moses Marquez, I'm excited to see where he goes from here. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does, not just against the Demoness, but beyond.
Hell yeah, man. That's my opponent next year for Promo Mania 6. So, I mean, we both got a lot of time to adapt, and we both got a lot of time to watch each other and scout each other. So, I think a lot of people are going to be in store for an epic bout next year at Promo Mania 6. So, besides that, we got Moses and Nikla for the Promo Championship. Now we got Robert Davis and Travis the Walker Anderson, and we'll talk about the promo bouts in a sec. But, dude, Robert Davis coming in strong, taking on former promo champ Travis the Walker Anderson. A bout we have not seen. We have seen them go at it in the Fatal 4-Way from last year's promo slam that I was included in along with the Butcher. So I got to ask you, first time bout, Robert Davis, Crazy Eyes, the Collector, whatever the stat man, whatever you want to call him, against Travis the Walker Anderson, with the mask, without the mask. It's two dudes that are ready to tear the house down. So what are your thoughts about Robert Davis and Travis the Walker Anderson one-on-one?
I think you and Dazzy and I have talked, and this is one that I really wanted to see happen. Both men insanely talented. Robert Davis, he's an OG. He's been in RWT for a long time. He was involved, if I'm not mistaken, I believe he was in the very first promo contest.
Yes, he was.
And, I'm really interested to see what happens with this. I like, Travis he had a rough couple of bouts, but I think he's come back strong.
I agree wholeheartedly on that. I look at it like this. Like, for us, it's tough to judge him and Amir, and it's tough to judge him and the guys like Chef, who we'll get to in a second. And really, he's been tearing it down, and then he brought back the Walker in the bout with Brittany Savage. But for me, it's one of those things where Travis has to prove to the fact that, hey, man, like, he beat me for the promo championship after, like, we've been doing our thing like 3-4 times, man. I beat him in King of the Mic, Promo Slam, and Promo Series, right? So he finally gets the win over me, beats Moses, loses to the Demoness. Travis the Walker Anderson is coming off of being the shortest reigning promo champion at 102 days. He's ready to, take himself to another level. He's ready to go out there full force and just work his ass off like he does. Because as Robert Davis said in the hot seat, it's very true. The dude's a workhorse. The dude he's a very passionate son of a gun who I'm very happy to call a friend. So it's one of those things where I look forward to seeing what Travis brings. But then there's the other thing of Robert Davis. Now, if you remember, Daniel, and to bring it back to a year, last year it was King of the Mic. It was myself and Robert Davis in the King of the Mic tournament. We both did our thing, and I came out on top as the only first ever King of the Mic tournament winner, King of the Mic, if you will. So I got to say this about you, Robert Davis. Like, you saw that bout last year. What do you think about him elevating to what he did from last year with me going against Travis this year at Trivia Takeover?
I don't know. Like, I like to consider myself someone that, can kind of see how things are going to play out. I can't see this one. I can't, I can't look at it and just say, oh, this person's going to win or that person's going to win, and that's what makes this really exciting. I'm intrigued to see what goes on. I think Robert Davis, it's been a hot minute since, he cut a promo. And if I'm Travis, getting his head for a moment, he wants that championship back.
Oh, absolutely. And it's one of those things like you mentioned, you're also dealing with someone, Robert Davis, who has not cut a promo since January, where he took on Demoness in the second bout in the Shadows. Jesus, you know what I'm saying? I'll get back to the name of that in a second. But yeah, Nikla and Robert was in January, podcast promo Rumble 5. That was the last time they had a Yeti bout. So, I mean, it's one of those things where he's coming back hot and he's coming back strong, Dan.
Oh, yeah. And I think he's going to be a force to be reckoned with, in this promo league.
Agreed, and that was Showdown in the Shadows too. My fault on that, but yeah, I digress. Anyway, it's one of those things, Dan, where we have Robert Davis and Travis the Walker Anderson gonna tear it down. We got Nicola Moses Marquez, but we also have a third promo bat on there. We got Chef, Queens my city, I rep my city, representing Queens, New York. We got Rob Chef, man behind Heel Team 6 and the Jokers Club podcast. Now, dude, we're talking about the promo league, so let's get into it because it's one of those things, Dan, now where we have to, we talked about Lewis, but now we're going to give our public reasons going forward after Trivia Takeover, where there's going to be one pretty much, there's going to be one overturn within a month. You can, rectify the decision if you want the whole 9. So let's talk about how we judge, because we'll give you guys a little insight to what Dan and I do. We look at pros and cons, and we've discussed each and every bout, most of them together. So, dude, our first bout that we saw in the promo league was Travis the Walker Anderson and Amir Blackman Costello. And I'm going to say this right now. The only other time we saw this was last year before Promo Slam. And that really wasn't a promo. That was just pretty much Amir putting over Travis. This one, you got to see Travis ripping over the shirt. I wrote this down, man. I'd like that he acknowledged Amir in his past. The 50-cent hooker line was hilarious, showing respect to him, but he also had that confidence about him. He showed his loyalty to Max. He's going to take it to the Max, as he's currently filling in for me on the Max Wrestling Podcast. Amir, I love the parallels to him and Travis, proving he's the OG. Amir is taking picture with the superstars. Now, Travis is in his car. Amir's in his car. And then he just had the bandana over him, the RWT Kingpin bandana. But what's going on in the pandemic, of course? So I got to ask you, man, Amir got that win. That was one hell of a way to start off the promo league, and we started off hella right.
Exactly, and I think with that one, if I remember that one, I don't think I was a judge for that one.
No, you were not. You came later.
But you know what? I still enjoyed it.
Me too. It's one of those things where, like, it was hard for me to pick a winner, but I just liked Amir's continuity, and it was really hard, but I think just Amir had that extra oomph to it that I liked. I'm not saying Travis's promo was bad, but it's one of those things like, man, when you got that parallels and you're just talking about why you're the Kingpin and the whole 9, I just was like, wow. Like, I was just like, it's one of those things where you're just like, oh, you know what I'm saying? It's the overall resonating and generating, but it's also the facial expressions where your eyes just bowl up and you're just like, oh my God, like, what did I just see, if that makes sense?
Exactly. Each one brought it. Amir just pushed it just a little bit farther.
That he did. And then the next bout we saw was Travis the Walker Anderson once more against the Phoenix. Now, as someone who loves the Phoenix, fellow Max Wrestling captain, well, former captain, whatever you want to call it, co-founder of Max Wrestling, he's my dude, as is Travis. And that's the thing, man. When you're seeing two of your friends just duke it out, you got the Phoenix here, who has never done video promos. If for those that remember the history of Max Wrestling, he's mostly done audio promos. But I got to say, Craig was very straight to the point, as I wrote, and I got to say with Phoenix, like, I like the fact that we were introducing the Demon of the Welsh Valleys. He had the continuity of he's the shortest knowledge champion, and Travis is the shortest promo champion. But Travis was just driving down that road, just getting all bowed up and just going down everybody, addressed the judges, myself, and just fired up. So that fire and that intensity that he had is why I kind of picked him to be the winner. And like I said, I like both. I like the introduction of the Phoenix with the Demon of the Welsh Valleys. But man, Travis had that extra oomph in that one. Now, what are your thoughts about Travis versus the Phoenix?
I do. I like characters, the Welsh Valley, I like it, But Travis, he brought that anger.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I see something like that and seeing what Travis can do when he is on. Everybody that's ever cut a promo, myself, you, anybody, we all have ones that, we look back and we think, God, that wasn't good.
Yeah.
But with that one, Travis was on.
He was.
And that's something that, as a viewer, when I see that, I think, okay, all right, I like this.
Well, and then we see, speaking of Travis, this is someone he has brought into promos that he's introduced going into the promo league, and someone who's had bouts before this. We saw him in the number one contender bout against the Demoness on the anniversary show for Max. We saw him against Teddy P at Podcast Promo Rumble 5. Cypher's first bout against Mike Jolly. Now, here's the thing. This is the one where you came into, Dan, and this is where we start about you and I judging here. So I went with Mike Jolly because I thought it was straight to the point. It's very sinister. And here's the thing. Cypher did not cut a bad promo. I love Corey to death. But his, it was, I like the dog and the bark, but yeah, he was just, he was very with it. You know what I'm saying? I got a little more oomph out of Mike because Mike did the whole eye roll in the back of the head. He was sinister. He was dark. Not saying Corey could have had one, and I liked it. I liked it a lot. But for that one, I had to go with Mike Jolly. You and I differed on this one because you also went Corey.
I liked what he brought. If I remember back to that promo, and that all of these have been kind of, some of them have been tougher to judge than others,
Yes, correct.
But with that one, I just like Corey's a little bit more.
It's one of those where I look at it like this, and I've told Corey this. Corey's one of those guys where he's just going to get better. Like from him and Teddy P, that was just a start. Now we saw him in the Demoness, the Heaven and Hell, one of his best bouts, because I think the Demoness brings a lot out of you. And for God's sake, I put face paint on my face in the promo climax, Dan. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things where you have to step your game up, and I think he did. With Mike Jolly, I enjoyed it, but there's just something about Mike, because I know both of these guys, but Mike, I host the Washington Wrestle Talk podcast, fellow podcaster, man. He's one of those guys, he's nicknamed the Heavy Metal Jesus. He's nicknamed the Oddity. There's a lot of creativity in that mind that a lot of people are going to see, and we saw it with Brittany Savage, which we'll get to that bout in a minute, but it's one of those things, man, where god dang, it's something about it that it's just like, and like I said, you just stop and stare and you're kind of hooked. Doesn't matter the length, doesn't matter the time. It's something that draws you, if that makes sense.
No, it does. It makes perfect sense.
So yeah, that was my thoughts on the Cypher Mike Jolly one. Then we get to another one. Dude, this one was unanimous. Brittany Savage versus Travis the Walker Anderson. Okay. I knew what Travis was trying to do because he was taking a shot at Robert Davis where, you have the music in the background and you can't hear what's going on there. And I thought that was a nice jab to Robert Davis because Robert Davis is his opponent, so you tie in continuity-wise there. And Brittany was just like, I don't care who you are. I was watching Walker Texas Ranger. You know what I'm saying? Just like the men I've been with, your title reign was short. It was short-lived. Like, there was a lot of validity to what Brittany Savage is. And again, as someone who's been in the business, former WSU Tag Team Champion with AJ Lee, former New York Wrestling Connection, NYWC Starlet Champion, a part of the Beer Belly Bandits, wrestled WWE Hall of Famer Beth Phoenix on Friday Night SmackDown in 2009. It's one of those things where she's been around the business since 2009, started in late 2008. She's not a competitor anymore, but someone who has the ins and outs, has been in the ring, like she mentioned in that promo with Mercedes Martinez. We're talking about people like AJ Lee, like we mentioned, Beth Phoenix. We're talking about Su Yung. We're talking about Sumi Sakai. We're talking about legendary people that she's been in the ring with. So you got that knowledge, you got that tutelage for being in the business, and Brittany Savage showed it on that. That's why I had to say Brittany Savage on that. Travis did not cut a bad promo because I like the fact that he brought the Walker back, and we're going to see him continue to, ascend the rankings, if you will. So, Mr. Daniel Cribbins, thoughts on Brittany Savage versus Travis the Walker Anderson?
That was a good one. Travis, again, never a bad promo.
Mm-hmm.
Has some been better than others? Absolutely. I liked what he tried to do there, but man, Brittany, she brought the fire. She brought that heat, right out of the gate. Her first contest, and she threw what I think was a knockout punch.
Dude, it's the sassiness, you know what I'm saying? Because if you look at the history of Brittany Savage, she's got like that mean girl type of gimmick. Like when she was AJ Lee, I'll say it right now, she was the white meat babyface. But when she went with the Cosmo Club, she was with the Boy Diva Rick Cataldo and a lot of great people there. Dude, she could turn it up to that heel just like that. She had the mean girls vibe, and she could be sassy, she can be confident, she can lay you out. But it's one of those things where, like you mentioned, the knockout punch. And then we get to Ted P. De Niro, who is a veteran. We've seen him in the promo climaxes. We've seen him do a lot of great work as a promo and as an artist that he is. He took on a fellow artist and friend of Cypher's, Trippy Wolf, who's also a rapper. We saw him in his debut. Now, for me as an epileptic, I'm going to say this right now. Trippy, don't do that again with the flashy graphics. He didn't cut a bad promo. He's very straight and subtle and to the point. But Teddy P was funny. He was calling him Riff Raff's cousin. It's one of those things where he made me laugh, but he was serious at the same time. I don't think they were bad promos, but god dang, man, Teddy P had me hooked with this one. Your thoughts on Teddy P and Trippy Wolf?
Teddy P, he's another RWT original. He I've gone against him in the past. You know, he and I have our history. I got a lot of respect for Teddy P. You know, and when you look at that, I like the other promo. It was good. I'm not saying it wasn't, but I like the story that Teddy P told just a little bit more.
Yeah, man. It's one of those things where Teddy P is another old school guy like yourself, and he can really resonate with people. Like, he can have me laugh and he can have me serious. Man, there's a reason why he's the OTH, the one true heel, because here's the thing, and we'll discuss the promo climaxes in a second here, and we'll discuss our past stuff, but Dan, I gotta say this to you, man. 2018, going in the first promo climax, I'm new to RWT. I don't know a lot of you, and I don't know why Teddy P was so hated, but god dang, people hated Teddy P, and if he could do that, that means he's doing his job as the OTH that is the one true heel.
Exactly, you know, and it's when he turns it up, you know, you see why he is what he says he is.
Mm-hmm. That, you know, he does. And
he
then
says he's the one true heel, and he is.
He is, man. That he truly is. And I look forward to seeing more Teddy P. Teddy P got to do more challenges up in here, man. But yeah, this first bout with Trippy Wolf was a dub. Then we get to the Phoenix versus Cypher. Phoenix getting his first win over Cypher. Whew. I got to say this right now. I enjoyed the face paint and just Phoenix being his Demon of the Welsh Valley's character. Very straight and subtle and to the point. Corey, this is the one where he drove and he was in the car. And I said this to him. He kind of stumbled over his words a little bit. Like, it wasn't bad, but I've seen better. It was kind of for me. So for that, I chose the Phoenix. Go ahead, Phoenix versus Cypher.
You know, again, similar situation. You know, I like the Demon of the Welsh Valley. You know, it's got a good ring to it. You know, and it's, you know, the car promos, they work, you know, from time to time. But this one, I just enjoyed the Demon a little bit more.
Me too. And like I said, here's the thing, and I want this to be apparent to everybody. People, you're going to hear more of these opinions from us in the public vote. We don't think any promo that has happened right now, and Dan, you can agree with me on this, none of these promos have sucked. Each and every one has brought it, but at the end of the day, there's got to be a winner and there's got to be a loser. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. You know, we can't just say, oh, you both win.
Yeah.
You know,
there has to be a decisive winner. And it's one of those things where it's one of those things where we see those things where we actually, and Dan, you can attest to this, like we were talking about, we have to watch these a couple times just to like pick our winner. I've had to watch a couple of these, like I'll say maybe up to 4 times just because I'm like, man, we got to analyze, dissect, and decipher this. So like we talked about after Trivia Takeover, there may be some bouts that are overruled and overturned, so to speak. But hey, man, it is what it is. And like I said, and I think, Dan, you can agree with us, and we'll have these for everybody that listens to this. Man, we've been enjoying what y'all have been doing, so just keep it up. Like I said, if it's most of these decisions, like Dan, I got to say, since you and I started judging together, we have had not a lot of times where it's been unanimous. We've actually gone a lot of different ways, but man, that's what's great about it, because we can both, you know, examine our styles and try to come to a common denominator, see who the victor is.
Exactly. You know, and it's like you said, there has not been a bad promo. You know, there hasn't been one where, you know, you go, God, that was terrible. That sucked.
Oh, yeah. And then I'm
going to go back in history. You and Travis the Walker, you know, for the promo title.
Yep.
That was one that I had to watch multiple times. You know, I remember judging for that one.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, Travis and I, and here's the thing, we talked about this on the last show when I was talking to Robert Davis. It was a time where Travis beat Andre Corbeil at promo series, and then he got the rematch. He included the Star Wars stuff, I Will Rise. Me, I went buck wild for 15 minutes. It's one of those things where we have different styles, but we have chemistry, and we're going to do it either win or lose. And it's one of those things where I also kind of look at it from a storytelling perspective. Like, if I keep beating him and then I win again, then what's the point of this? You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense. It's like, you know, I can't win them all. Like, I've already beaten him in the King of the Mic. I've beaten him at Promo Slam. I've beaten him at Promo Series. Like, dude, like, goddamn, if you don't beat me now, then what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? To be blunt with it.
Yeah.
So from a storytelling perspective, it made sense, but I appreciate that, man. I think each and every one, and that's what I tried to make, and we'll talk about the Reigns as promo champ. That's how you got to do, man. You got to have the right dance partner. You got to, it takes two to tango. So I really hold the ones that I've done with Travis near and dear to my heart. And speaking of Travis, we're about to come up here on him in a second, but dude, right after the Phoenix and Cypher, Phoenix got another one in there against newcomer Rob Chef, aka the Chef. Man, Chef was straight to the point. I'm talking about brazen. I'm talking about going at him full throttle, talking about just coming at him. You know what I'm saying? He clapped, and then Phoenix clapped back with, you're both new. And he was talking about, sometimes it's hell trying to get to heaven, which popped me the brownie points for the Undertaker line, because I know Phoenix loves the Undertaker. For me, though, I had to go with Chef on this just because he was a little bit more oomph with it. Now, your thoughts on Chef versus the Phoenix?
Again, my memory's not the best, but from what I recall, tough ones to call. Most of these, it's not like where you watch it and you think, you can instantly be like, that one.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, you're watching them, and again, it was tough to call, but, like, you and I, we picked Chef, you know what I'm saying? And then Chef goes right into Travis the Walker Anderson, and it's one of those things where Chef brings it, because, again, realness, rawness, and I loved it, but Travis had the paint on, he had the snake, he had the, very asked with the Joker mask, because the Joker's Club podcast, there's continuity there. It was a nice touch, and I think Travis had a little more oomph to his.
Yeah, Travis has kind of been bringing that anger back, bringing that heat.
Mm-hmm. He's bringing the Walker back, and then, my God, man, this has been the controversial one that a lot of people have been kind of on about, because it's one of those things where Mike Jolly did not do a bad promo. I love Mike Jolly's promo, but you and I picked her again. It was Mike Jolly versus Brittany Savage. I look at it like this, man, like the nice tie-in with the Jolly Ranchers. It was very cute. It was very subtle, but she also, again, we were talking about her sassiness and her attitude. She had that, and it was very cute with how she did it, and very straight to the point in the minute and a half that she encompassed. She was, for the time that she gave, doesn't matter the length of the time, but she made the most of her time, you know what I'm saying? But Mike Jolly had this deranged story, kind of reminded me of an old school Cactus Jack Manson in WCW. Kind of reminded me of any madman that you've seen coming through for professional wrestling. You know what I'm saying? Like, look at the Missing Link and so many of these characters that are just buck wild. So, Dan, I got to say this. You and I both picked Brittany Savage on this one. Your thoughts on Brittany Savage versus Mike Jolly?
Again, a very difficult one to do. That was actually one where, after I cast the vote, I kind of thought, did I make the right vote? You kind of second guess yourself.
You do, and it's one of those things where, and I had this discussion with Britt, and I'm like, Britt, I got to say this. I see what you're doing here, but let's see what he did. And then I watched both again, and this is another one that I'm going to say to you, Dan. I watched a couple times. It's one of those things where, like, she just had the subtleties that I liked. Mike was fine, and it was good. I'm not saying it was bad. Again, people, none of you have cut a bad promo. But for me, it was just how I went with it. And did I second guess myself in a way? Yes, because he was very deranged. And, I mean, Mike's got something about him that you just see and you go, wow. But in this particular situation, I went with Brittany Savage because I just... You know what it is. You just feel like, okay, there's the continuity, there's the tie-in with the name, and it's funny, and it's entertaining. You know what I'm saying? Not to say Mike wasn't, but yeah. And like I said, I know we're kind of rambling about this, but god dang, man, each and every promo's been great. But yeah, there have been ones like you that I've been second guessing. Go ahead, Dan.
And I will say this, with Mike Jolly there, it kind of reminded me of those old school Cactus Jack ECW promos.
Oh yes, Kane Dewey, the whole nine.
The he's hardcore promo, I really want to see more of this guy.
Me too. And I can't wait to see who he goes against next or who challenged him, because even though right now we've seen out of all the records, the only people that have losses are Trippy Wolf with 0-1 and Mike Jolly with 0-2 now, but he's a guy that's going to keep electrifying and keep bringing the pain and bringing the heat, so to speak, coming in there, because, man, the dude can verbally assassinate. The dude's intelligent, and he's a son of a gun. So I can't wait to see what comes with Mike Jolly. But, dude,
personally, if I can add to that,
yes, sir.
I would love to see him and Robert Davis go at it.
Oh my goodness, the darkness and the darkness. I'm all about it, man.
You know, it's kind of when you think of, Undertaker and Mankind,
I can see that.
Kind of you get that vibe going. Him or even Mike Jolly and Butcher.
Yep. There's so many possibilities with a lot of these people, and we'll fantasy book in a sec, but dude, that's the promo league so far. And here's the thing. I got to talk about the promo climaxes for a second because, man, I remember in 2018 going in there, like I said, I didn't know any is, and I come in there, and it's one of those things where Amir becomes the first promo champion. You did your thing. I did my thing. Everybody did their thing in the first promo climax. Amir has his reign as the promo champion, defeating Moni Lynn at that podcast promo rumble. Then he loses to Momania. And then the next special was the Trivia Takeover, which the promo title at the time was not on the line. We had myself and Robert Davis and the King of the Mic. So it was one of those things where we had Travis in the chase. We had me because I beat Robert Davis. And then it turned into a fatal four-way. My reign in a second. But now we're talking about Promo Slam. Promo Slam is coming up, and we'll talk about that event in a second. But, dude, Promo Slam 2019 was the fatal four-way. It was yours truly, the knowledge champ at the time. We had Travis. We had Robert on the fatal four-way.
I enjoyed it. That was, the first time, something different. I like new things, with promos, with wrestling. I like new things, I like, when WWE did the Boneyard match. I like the Firefly Funhouse, I like when people think outside the box and do new stuff.
I think it's one of those things. I don't mean to cut you off, damn. It's like, god dang, man, you see these theatrics that you have and the movie, like the cinematic feel that you have at the Firefly Funhouse, the stuff that you have at the Boneyard, like we just saw at the Stadium Stampede with AEW, and stuff like that. That's creative, and not a lot of people have seen before.
Exactly, and if you just have straight up one-on-one all the time, eventually people are going to get bored with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's stories, it's different gimmicks, that really brings something special.
Oh, dude, exactly. And that's the thing. Like, you got to change it up. You got to have some fun with it. And that's the thing, man, because you don't want to just be repetitive. And we'll get into my reign in a sec. But one thing I will mention about my reign, it's one of those things where it's like, dude, and I love Travis the Walker Anderson to death. And I'll say this right here. I kind of wanted Andre Corbeil to win just because it's something different. It's something new, because Travis has even admitted, it's like when you're constantly going against the same person, like last year, it was just Travis and I, like you wanted something different. And that's where, before I even get to my reign, I want to get your thoughts on Andre Corbeil. We're talking about Andre Corbeil, WrestlingWithWrestling.com, trained by the likes of Bill Apter, has worked with Bill Apter, OneWrestling.com, has worked with Vince Russo as a part of the brand. What were your thoughts about Andre Corbeil coming in, wanting a shot at me? Then he has to go through Travis first, and when Travis the Walker Anderson wound up winning. What were your thoughts about Andre Corbeil coming to the fray?
That one, again, kind of surprised me. I don't know. I would have liked to have seen more.
So I'm going to ask you, when you saw both of the promos and Travis was doing his thing, he was very fired up because Andre had sustained an injury at a Canadian independent show where he works, and he was bedridden, so he cut that promo from bed. What were your thoughts about what both men brought a promo series last year?
Again, I don't remember too much of it, but, very entertaining. To me, that's what I would call the ascension of the Walker.
Agreed. And it's one of those things where you talk about Travis, and Travis was talking about, don't say nothing about my balls. And then his wife comes in, he's got his balls to you, which I thought was a nice touch, because behind every great man stands a great woman, man. And that was a great woman right there. We got a family man that is Travis, which is true. And it really showed within his promo with the Demoness. And that's what makes him the great father, great human being that he is. I truly mean that. It's one of those things with Andre, man, because he's been around the people, the Hart Legacy Wrestling, and the Hart Wrestling Ring. You know what I'm saying? He's been around the Hart family, and he was talking about Que Sera, which made me laugh. And he was just cutting like that old school, like wrestling promo. You got a dude that absorbs it and has been around the business. So, I mean, he's another one kind of like Brittany Savage in a way, who has been in the ring and has taken some bumps. He's another one that has that psychology, and he can tell a story.
Exactly. Looking back at people that have competed, I wish we could have seen more of him.
Agreed. And I look forward to seeing what Andre does. Andre's been putting a lot of our shows on wrestling.com, as he will do this one. Now we're up to my reign as the promo champion. Now, I started out at Promo Slam last year, winning the title. I was Knowledge Champ and Promo Champ at the same time. My ass comes into the Promo Climax. Now, mind you, I'm thinking to myself, I got to do something better, because last year, and that 2018 at the time, man, I sucked. And I'll fully admit it, I sucked in the Promo Climax. Again, something new, and I like Phoenix, I have not done promos where, it's on video for him, right? So, man, I just had fun with it, and I entertained people, and I wind up winning the Promo Climax in Block A. Then I go against Travis and retain. So I got to ask you, and then Travis beats me at the Maxis, your thoughts on my 136-day reign as Promo Champion. Go ahead, Dan.
Honestly, very impressive reign. It's, I remember, doing the votes, I like what you brought. Each promo you did was something different. You didn't go for the same gimmick. You adapted.
Well, thank you. And that's the thing. It's one of those things where you have to adapt, you have to change it up. And I think we're using these words a lot, and it's very it's valid. It's a lot of validity going into it, because I think that's what happened with every single champion that we had. Like, but here, it was just, he's very creative. We talk about that mind. We talk about, like we just saw with him and Moses, AT Wrestler, man. I loved it. It actually represents the retro. That is the Retro Rewind Moses Marquez. And I love that bout as well. Go back to the promo league, but it's one of those things where you have to change it up. You can't just be set in one mode. You got to take the gear and head it into drive and just go balls to the wall and tell a story like we talk about with every dance partner. But it's one of those things where you have to go in. You got to entertain the people. It doesn't matter what emotions, whether it be sad, mad, glad, what have you, man. If you're not evoking emotions, then you're not doing your damn job.
Exactly. And it's when we go back looking at you and Travis.
Mm-hmm.
That one was, I remember I must have watched that one back 4 or 5 times, And again, that was a really, really tough call.
Mm-hmm.
But, to me, that was when Travis was at his absolute best.
Agreed. And that's one of those things where, like, he's got nothing to lose, because I think it's one of those things where it's like the old Cactus Jack Triple H match from 1997. Desperate times call for desperate measures. It's one of those things where when you saw Cactus Jack come in at Madison Square Garden and make that debut, and he killed it with Triple H, that old JR call, and he spiked pile drivers through the table. Desperate times call for desperate measures, because Travis was hell-bent on winning the promo title, and he did. Now, speaking of him, when we get to Travis's reign, Bray Taines against
Now, real quick, Mike.
Yes, sir.
I want to test your knowledge for a second.
Yes, sir.
That Cactus Jack debut, who was the original opponent supposed to be?
I think it was supposed to be Dude Love, right?
Exactly.
That's the thing. Well, yeah, you had the 3 faces of Foley. Dude Love's like, that's not my bag. That's not my style. Then here comes Mankind, and Mankind's like, no. And then here comes Cactus Jack. Helmsley, Mrs. Foley's baby boy. We'll be home. Bang, bang. You can't beat stuff like that, man.
No, and it's something that, is sadly missed this day and age.
It is, man. And then we're talking about great promos like Mick Foley, people that are just balls to the wall, each and everything. Travis is one of those people, and I would tease Travis just because of his bowed upness. And like I said, very passionate individual. But, man, now we get to Travis's reign. Now, we talk about the shortest reigning promo champ at 102 days. Man, he had that bout with Moses at Podcast Promo Rumble 5. He has that bout with the Demoness where he loses at Promo Mania. So I got to ask you, short, but what were your thoughts on Travis the Walker Anderson's reign as promo champ, the bout with Moses, and the bout with the Demoness?
I thought, his bout with Moses, very good.
Mm-hmm.
You can have a short reign, doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad one.
Correct.
We talked about Mick Foley quite a bit tonight. I've made no secrets. I'm a Mick Foley mark. I've met Mick. He's a hell of a guy. Excuse me. And, none of Mick's world title runs have been long runs.
Exactly. Like, you look when and I'll say, like you said, when he won the WWE title on, friggin' on Raw, and then he loses it right at the Royal Rumble, you know what I'm saying? And then at halftime heat, like he did that time period when he was the WWE champion, early 99, those are not long reigns.
But you know what? You remember them.
Exactly. Like you remember halftime heat. You remember the match on Raw. You remember St. Valentine's Day Massacre. You remember the Royal Rumble. So you have that remembrance to him. So exactly, man. I totally hear you. And that's the thing where Mick Foley, he's just one of those guys where it's just like you love him when he's in the chase and you love him as the champion. He's just one of those guys that really resonates with people.
Exactly. And, that brings us to none other than the battle with the Demoness.
Yep.
That one was fun.
Mm-hmm.
I remember judging for that one, and like honestly, I'm like a kid in a candy store. I get in there, I see what's available to me, and I enjoy it.
It's one of those things too. Like I said, it could have gone either way. But god dang, man, it's tough to, again, great dance partners. That's another one I want to see again. I'll truly say that. I want to see another Demoness Travis the Walker Anderson bout. Like you say, kid in the candy store. It's one of those things where you chomp at the bit and you want to see it again. I want to see a lot of rematches with the Demoness. I'll say this right now. Like we've seen the Demoness go against Cypher. We've seen her go against myself. We've seen her go against a lot of great people. Like this is new with her and Moses Marquez. There's a lot of people that she's taken on in the past that I want to see her go against. But yeah, man, the Demoness now in her reign, taking on Moses Marquez coming up in a couple weeks at Trivia Takeover. Now, there's another person I got to ask you about, man. That is The Shape. Now, we saw The Shape's debut against myself at Promo Mania. Then we'll talk about his bout with Nicola. But I got to say, The Shape, man, we saw him come in, challenge me at the end of podcast Promo Rumble 5. The story being, everybody has their self-doubt, Dan. They question themselves. And this was one of those times where you question yourself as, can I still do it? And then we go into Promo Mania, and I'm going to say this right now. I felt The Shape and I stole the show. So I got to ask you your thoughts on the build for The Shape and I and the bout that happened at this past year's Promo Mania.
Again, really good build. I'm a fan of long, drawn-out builds. With any great recipe, you look at, again, I mentioned, I like to cook. I think, a longer meal or a longer cook makes it better. You think of Thanksgiving, I know you got viewers overseas.
Yep.
It's an all-day cook, but it's that anticipation. And that once you get to it, when you finally sit down, you get to it, it makes it that much more enjoyable.
Agreed, and I think that's what we wanted to encompass within the build, and I'll apologize firsthand for my naked ass going to the shower, but, I mean, the point was they stripped me of everything. I just lost the knowledge and promo titles, so there's got to be some continuity and flavor there, but I'm glad a lot of people enjoyed what we did, including yourself, Dan. And then we get to the bout with the Demoness that just happened. Thoughts on The Shape and the Demoness?
Enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
Demoness, I don't know who can beat her, honestly.
It's one of those things, man, where, and I'll be honest with you, she does have one loss, technically, in the promo climax. That was to me. But it's one of those things where right now as the promo champ, she's probably one of the most unstoppable forces that we've had. And I'm kind of like with El Jefe. Now, Moses admitted on Max Wrestling this past week that he's not necessarily afraid of her anymore. But I got to say something, man. I wouldn't say those words with the Demoness around, man, because she will instill the fear in you. Some would say instill the fear of God, but she would instill the fear of the devil himself. And you know what I'm saying, man? She might cast a spell on you. I've said it many times on this show. Demoness, come to caress. She'll take your soul. She'll put you in a hole. She's a Demoness. So, Dan, we are in for a treat coming Trivia Takeover.
Exactly. He said he's not afraid, but maybe he should be.
Heed to those words, Moses Marquez, by the one and only Mr. Daniel Crimmins. Now, Daniel Crimmins, one other bout that we know is going to happen. That is in August at Promo Slam. On the main show is The Shape versus Travis the Walker Anderson. Are you excited for that?
I am. I'm really curious to see what the Shape brings out. At the same time, I expect a lot out of the Walker. We saw the ascension of the Walker. We saw the fall of the Walker. Are we seeing the redemption of the Walker?
I think time will tell when we get to August. The shape is no joke. Neither is Travis the Walker Anderson, so we are in for a hell of a treat in August. And Dan, before we close this out, I just want to say thank you so much for your time. And can you please tell us where we can find you on the social media platforms or just promote RWT Group and the whole nine? The floor is yours, sir.
You know, you can always find me on Facebook. You know, I'm always there. Enjoys all this quarantining.
Mm-hmm.
Part of check out Max Wrestling, RWT, some of the best groups of people you'll ever find.
Amen to that. Now, Dan, before we even close this out, there's another bout that's happening at Promo Slam this year. It's on the Countdown show. It's a special judge versus judge exhibition match. Dude, you and I are going head-to-head. Now, Dan, you and I have not gone head-to-head. We were supposed to in Promo Climax 2. You were out early, so everybody got a bye. Now, the difference between you and I, Mr. Crimmins, is I adapted since Promo Climax 2018. I became the promo champion. You have only had one win, and that was over Moniland, the Promo Climax 2018. So I got to ask you something, Mr. Daniel Crimmins, and I want you to let this marinate. Do you really want this?
You know, I was approached about Promo League. Wasn't interested. You know, I bowed out of the Promo Climax. You know, I had some personal demons to battle.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want this? I don't know. You know, I don't know if I want this. The question is, do I need this?
And do you need this, Dan? Here's the thing, man, because it's one of these things. I'm going against Moses Marquez next year, and I've already talked about my accolades, and this is going to be the promo of his life. Daniel Crimmins, hell yeah, you need this, because you need to have your detractors not have your era of absolute suctitude, because, dude, I told you, you've only won one bout, and when you're going against a guy like me, one of the top-notch, one of the cream of the crop, rise to the top, do I really need to say any more, Daniel Crimmins? You were going against the guy that is the show stealer. And I'd be stumbling over my words, but I will not be stumbling over my words on the Countdown show. You can put me on the Countdown show. You can put me on the main show. I don't really give a damn. Daniel Crimmins, I got you, kid.
You know, it's a damn good question. Do I want this? Do I need this? You know, I think that answer is readily apparent. And I think that answer is resounding. You bet your ass I do.
Daniel Crimmins, come the Countdown show at Promo Slam. You will be embarrassed, and I'm going to wallow in each and everything of it. This has been another edition of In the Hot Seat. My name is Mike Larkin. Daniel Crimmins, you're welcome.